It's time. It's time for the final Pro Tour of the 2015-2016 season. We are live, coming to you from the Sydney Showgrounds. Wherever you are around the world, is it morning, is it afternoon, is it evening, is it night, wherever you are, thanks for being part of our Pro Tour webcast. Rich Hagan, your host, sitting alongside the Pro Tour historian, Mr. Brian David Marshall. Ready to rock and roll, BDM?
Absolutely, can't wait to watch these guys play.
All right, and sitting next to him from inside R&D over at Wizards of the Coast in Seattle, Mr. Ian Duke. Ian, looking forward to it?
Oh yeah, it's great to be here. I'm really excited.
It's going to be a great show. So much to get through. BDM, give us a sense of the scope that is in this event. So much going on all the time.
There's more than 300 players in this room, and they all have a different dream for this weekend. Some players are just hoping to acquit themselves admirably playing in their first Pro Tour. But others are looking for gold, they're looking for platinum. Others are looking to be their national champions. A handful of elite players are looking to clinch a berth at the World Championships. And of course, people want to win a Pro Tour this weekend. So there's a lot on the line every round all the way through.
Yeah, and we will keep you abreast of everything that happens over the next 3 days. Now, Ian, from your point of view, R&D, what are you and your colleagues at Wizards looking forward to seeing this weekend?
Well, the Pro Tours are always exciting. It's great to see the set come out and get played at the highest level. Standard is at the largest that it will be now, right before the rotation. So there are tons of cards to choose from. We're really excited to see how players put them together. For me, the one card I'll be looking for this weekend is Emrakul. I'm really excited to see if players can find the right shell for that card. It's tremendously powerful. We spent a lot of time tuning it, getting to the right point, and I'm really excited to see Emrakul hit the top tables.
Well, one thing is for sure, we're going to see it in Limited, because that came out of the GP last weekend, that people, they see it 13, and they're not worried by 13. It isn't unlucky. They're thinking, I can make that for 9, I can make that for 8, and we are going to see Emrakul in action for sure this weekend. All right, so for those of you who are new to coverage, welcome along. Thanks for being part of our Pro Tour weekend. Let's mark your card for how it all works, because we're going to talk about all sorts of complex races, but underneath it all, there's a fairly simple system going on. So, BDM, why don't we start with you and walk us through the schedule and the formats for this weekend?
Sure, absolutely. We're going to start by playing Booster Draft. We're going to crack open a pack of Eldritch Moon. We're going to see what the best players in the world value as their first picks, and then we're going to play 3 rounds of Booster Draft. After that, we're going to get to look at what Standard looks like with these new cards, and we're going to see 5 rounds of Standard. Everyone who does 4 and 4 better at the end of those 8 rounds gets to come back and do it all again tomorrow. Same formats, same schedule of day.
Okay, so we see on there Swiss pairings. Can you just explain, Ian, a little bit about what Swiss really means?
Yeah, Swiss pairings mean each round players are randomly matched with people that have the same number of match points as them. They'll then play a best 2 out of 3 games, and whoever wins that best 2 out of 3 will get 3 points if they win the match. If the match ends up in a draw, each player gets 1 point, and the loser of the match gets 0 points from that.
Okay, so what we're working towards is kind of a pyramid approach where you start off at 0-0, so you can be paired against anyone. By the time you're 4-0, well, there's only 50, 40 players left with perfect records, and they're then going to go closer and closer until eventually, at the end of the day, we may well see only 1 or maybe 2 players with a perfect 24 points. That would be 8-0. And although you can be paired in draft in the morning and then later in the tournament in constructed, you cannot play the same person twice in the constructed rounds. So that's the scoring. Let's move on. BDM, a lot at stake for lots of different people, but within the tournament itself, there is just a straightforward prize structure. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I mean, really what this comes down to is first place wins $40,000 and 30 pro points. Second place, $20,000, and then you go through into 8th place, and then once you get past 9th through 16th, you get based on match points for your pro payouts, and then you see 15 points for 36 or more, et cetera down the line.
And so,
but it's a $250,000 purse for this event, part of, millions of dollars that given out over the course of the season.
Right.
And this is the last event. And again, there's a lot more money on the line in terms of platinum and gold payouts, which I'm sure we'll be talking about all throughout the weekend.
Right. So Ian, this is our last Pro Tour of the season, so this is a good point for people to be thinking, well, what about next season, which begins only next week, by the way, in Portland and Rimini. So if people are thinking, how do I get a slice of the Pro Tour action? What are the ways that they can qualify? Let's bring that up and we'll walk through the different ways you can qualify for the Pro Tour.
Yeah, so taking a look here, the first major way, I think, is playing in a preliminary PTQ at your local store, which then advances you onto a regional PTQ, Pro Tour qualifier. And that's probably the easiest way if you've never played on the Pro Tour before to get your first chance to do that. Second way is to play in a Grand Prix, large open tournaments that will come to your area from time to time. If you earn 39 match points or more, then you get invited to the Pro Tour. If you've played in the Pro Tour and you earn 33 match points or more at this Pro Tour, it means you qualify for the next one. You can also qualify by playing in the Magic Online Championship Series, top 8ing your World Magic Cup, or being a Pro Club member.
So that's the Platinum, Gold, and Silver?
Absolutely, from accumulating Pro Tour points. Or if you've been playing for quite a long time and you managed to make it in the Hall of Fame, then you can also qualify for the Pro Tour that way. Not a recommended first opportunity, though.
Three very important little words there, Brian David Marshall. Hall of Fame. You are the Pro Tour historian. We have a very big announcement at lunchtime today.
I was just going to ask if you wanted to know who was in, but we'll wait till lunch.
Yeah. So at lunchtime, we will reveal the new members of the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour Hall of Fame. So don't miss that. That will be immediately at the end of the draft round. So first thing at lunchtime, the announcement for the Hall of Fame. Now, one of the slots available for the World Championship is the Draft Master. This is the person who does the best across the 4 Pro Tours, the 8 drafts that they will do in those rounds. So right now, we've already played 18 rounds across 3 Pro Tours. Let's take a look at how things stand in that race right now. And we have John Finkel leading the way. He is at 15 wins and 3 losses. He paces the field, a draw behind, 14 wins, and with a draw there, Christian Calcano and Marcio Carvalho. And then on 42, we have Thiago Saporito, Sam Tharmaratnam of Canada, the Japanese Hall of Famer Shota Yasuoka, and Matej Big Z Zatlkai, who was going to retire, and then he saw that there was a slot at Worlds just maybe with his name on it, and he is here for one last hurrah at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. But I can tell you that the players are ready down in the feature match area. We have a live feature match draft coming your way. We've got Pedro Carvalho, Celsus Quintana in his first Pro Tour from the Philippines. Hall of Famer Ben Rubin is down there. 18th ranked Ryoichi Tamada of Japan. Kentaro Yamamoto playing for Platinum this weekend. Former US national champion Antonino De Rosa. Alessandro Vukac of Canada. We are going to begin with the man who has just locked up a World Championship slot at Grand Prix Sydney last weekend. It is your Grand Prix Pro Points leader, and we're going to head down for all the action, every pick of Brian-Braun Duin.
Hello there, and welcome to the booth here at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Marshall Sutcliffe with Randy Buehler. We got a really sweet draft format on our hands here, Randy. I know that the pros have been talking about it, and it looks super exciting to see what the pros do with this format. I know I'm really excited personally for it. I've been drafting the heck out of this format. Maybe a few too many times in the last few days. Let's take a look at our table here as we break down our first draft here in Sydney. Now, our feature drafters over on the right-hand side there, Randy, that's Brian-Braun Duin, and we're going to be watching him. Rich mentioned it a second ago, but he is our GP master. He got more pro points from GP specifically than anybody for the whole season, and that earned him a seat at the World Championship, so we get to highlight him. What else do you see at the rest of the table?
I see that he's feeding a Hall of Famer in Ben Rubin. You see Japanese star Ryoichi Tamada, and then Kentaro Yamamoto into Antonino De Rosa. That half of the table is super stacked. And then, Pedro Carvalho hanging out on the other side as well.
Wow, that is a nasty table. Yeah, I have to say that BBD is feeding these players, and he doesn't have to worry about them quite as much. But still, what a tough pod here on the first. I mean, Antonino, he's a very good limited player. Kentaro, I mean, multiple Pro Tour top 8s, all that. So, yeah, this is going to be exciting, and really curious to see what BBD does with this format. I've got a chance to watch him draft a few times before, and he's capable of going in weird directions that awesome. Maybe you don't know about yet. And plus, being a relatively new format, this is one of those scenarios where that might be open.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's a lot of different synergy decks that you can draft. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do, and the format tends to be slow enough that you can do whatever cool stuff you actually want to do.
Yeah. All right, well, we're ready. Let's head down to the feature match area for the first draft here from Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Randy Bueller, and we're all set for the first draft here. This is the best time of the whole weekend. Everybody's rubbing their hands together. We're going to get a chance now to watch the booster draft. We're going to watch Brian-Braun Duin, our newly minted GP master. He is going to be playing in the World Championship, so we'll be seeing him in about a month's time as well. And we get to watch some booster drafts. So let's get into this and see what these players have come up with for this exciting and deep limited format. All right, looks like we're underway here for Brian-Braun Duin. All right, let's see what he's got here.
Subjugator Angel.
Yeah, he's also opened up a Thalia here.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, a nice little rare. You can take a look at Brian-Braun Duin's stats there and get a picture of him. But yes, there is Thalia Heretic Cathar in the front. There's also a Galvanic Bombardment near the back of the pack, which is a card that he's certainly going to have his eyes on.
Yeah, sure. Good card, but it's got to be Thalia first pick.
I think so, too. Yeah, there was a Shrill Howler in the pack. And, Randy, I love all the werewolves in this set. I think they're all a little bit underrated right now as well. That said, Thalia, very good. You can take a look at what Thalia does. It's so annoying to have to play against Thalia. You can never attack into her because she's got first strike. And if you're getting beaten down, well, she certainly does the job by making your creatures in the battlefield tapped. Let's see what BBD follows up with here. He's found a Deranged Whelp, it looks like, is the card that he's pulled to the front there. A very solid uncommon in the set. It's just a 2/1 with Menace for 2 mana, but it turns out that performs well. I think it's in for, routinely 4 to 6 damage before they can even block it.
There's not a whole lot in this pack.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd prefer to stay in white, but...
Yeah, you're not kidding, dude. There is not much in this pack at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's some playables, but not particularly white ones. So what does he want to pair white with? All right, he goes for the whelp, goes for the wolf. I wonder if he's going to take an aggressive tack here. I mean, he's got a 3-power first striker in Thalia at 3 mana. He's now got a 2-drop with Menace. This could be almost like a Boros style aggro deck.
It could be, which is really interesting because that is not a popular strategy in this format. But I will say that when it comes to limited, you can try to figure out what's going on with the limited format, but you can also draft a good curve, combat tricks, and removal spells and give yourself a chance. Wow.
Yeah, well, Geeson Giralf, third pick, is hanging out, but he's neither blue nor black.
So very powerful card, and he's going to move in.
Interesting. I don't know if he's moving in so much as speculating.
Sure.
I mean, at that point, that's a signal, right? 2 players looked at this bomb rare and said, no, I'm not going to draft this. So he should expect that it's going to be open, but he's not committed.
The interesting part about that card is that it is unclear how good blue-black is as a color combo. The card itself is fantastic, right? There's nothing to complain about there. Ooh, a Rise from the Grave.
Well, if we're going to be putting stuff into the graveyard, maybe we want to get it back out again.
There's also...
Morn Willow hanging out.
Yes, there's a Morn Willow.
Not for him.
I don't think that he's going to be able to move in that direction. But you see a hard turn here from Brian-Braun Duin. He took a white card, a red card, and then a blue-black, and now a black card. So it does look like he's at least attempting to move over. And you'll see that this is the kind of thing that Brian's going to feel out. Wow, a Haunted Dead. That's a great pickup for him here. That is one of the better uncommons for his stack, in fact. Wow. Nice change of pace here for Brian-Braun Duin.
Smart one, too.
Yeah, he's really picked up on the fact that nobody wants this blue-black deck coming from the right-hand side. And
I think he's also picking up on the fact that there really aren't white cards coming to him. Like, he's abandoning the first pick, Thalia. The second pick, whatever. I mean, it was a dry pack. He wasn't an exciting, 2/1 Menace isn't the most exciting card anyway. But, I mean, abandoning Thalia takes some flexibility.
Lots of black cards in this pack. I see that there's a Cryptolith Fragment in the middle there as well.
Yeah,
Cemetery Recruitment is a card that in the zombie deck can do really well.
Mm-hmm. That's the pick.
Wow.
So blue-black zombies, huh?
This is cool. Yeah, the truth is, I don't think that blue-black zombies is one of the top tier decks in the format, but it has a lot of synergies, and when you get a bomb rare in it, it all of a sudden looks a lot better.
Right, yeah. How is blue-black zombies when you get to third pick Issa and Geralt?
Yes. I'm into it there. Certain Death here is certainly going to be the pick for Brian-Braun Duin.
Yeah.
There is a spontaneous mutation at the back of that pack as well, and while it's not quite as good as a Certain Death here, he will want those. You'll see Laboratory Brutes, and there's going to be cards that we call it, self-mill. They're going to put a lot of cards into the graveyard for Brian here. Wow, Olivia's Dragoon this late. And he's also looking at a Drag Under here. I'd actually just be tempted to take the Olivia's Dragoon. It does help him with some of his synergies. And, he doesn't have to be in blue. Like, sometimes you end up being red-black. Yeah.
Splash for your Mythic Rare, maybe?
Yeah, possible. But that's fine. Drag Under is also excellent, and he's going to go ahead and pick that up. He definitely views himself. And a Wailing Ghoul, by the way, is another one of those self-mill cards that's going to help this strategy along. Anyway, and my point was for spontaneous mutation, right? You can get a bunch of cards in your graveyard, and spontaneous mutation makes your makes a creature smaller based on how many cards you've got in your yard. He's doing it.
Yeah, I think
we're going to get to see a very good version of this blue-black zombies deck and see what it can do. That's exciting.
Oh, Foul Bloods.
He passed a Wailing Ghoul finally. There was one in there.
You want to actually attack with something. There's a limit to how much self-mill you can get. Yeah. And self-mill obviously does potentially get him toward Delirium.
Also, Foul Bloods, zombie.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah, I think that's the problem with Olivia's Dragoons. He doesn't really have vampires, doesn't really have madness. These aren't... No. I mean, you can wind up with some madness cards in this deck, but obviously the Dragoons is a lot better in a red-black deck.
Totally.
What was the blue card he got back?
I did not see what the last card was.
It was Displays.
Yeah, it was a Displays. All right. Well, this was a really interesting first pack. I love that Brian stayed open.
Yeah.
He did not stick to, his first two picks, and in fact immediately abandoned them once he received what is definitely a signal, right?
Yes.
like we talk about signals in booster draft, and I try to temper that by saying, look, these are data points. You have one data point. You need more than one to make a thing, but that is a signal. Like blue-black is open.
Third pick, it's a 4/4 for 4. I mean, look, people don't like to commit to two colors. People don't like to first pick gold cards, but third pick, Mythic Rare, 4/4, slot straight into this deck. That's a yeah.
I think that was a very cool turn, and I think it makes a lot of sense. It is funny. It's just BBD's in a much better place to take that risk on, knowing that he's just not getting cut to the right. Where the person who opened that card is less so.
Right. When you first pick it, what if the guy on your right also moved into this archetype?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he just wants more zombie synergies.
All right, so here's pack number 2. This is also Eldritch Moon. Our last pack will be Shadows over Innistrad, but here we're looking to pick up some murders. Some of the premium removal spells is the stuff that BBD
Prey upon
wants.
is premium removal, but not for him.
Yeah, it's not going to be good enough. Wow, this is not a great pack for him. It looks like he's got Gavany, Unhallowed, and Unsubstantiate as his top two choices.
Those are not first picks.
Yeah, Enlightened Maniac, also a choice for him. Wow, yeah, this is not great. Let's see what he goes with here.
Yeah, Unsubstantiate?
Yeah, that's what he took. I think he just wants he doesn't have a ton of cheap removal right now. He's got a little bit more on the expensive end with the Certain Death, and I think he just wants a way to interact with his opponent's creature so that he doesn't get ran over.
Reasonable. Maybe more reasonable as a third pick, but...
Yeah, there's a second Drag Under. Yeah, the Angler. So I don't think he has any
he doesn't have a colorless
creatures. Yeah, so the Grizzled Angler...
good when you get to flip it, though.
Yeah, probably not going to be the pick for him here. Chilling Grasp also in the pack, though he'd much prefer a Drag Under. It's really outperformed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Drag Under is the safe pick. You could take Angler at this point and just make colorless creatures a higher priority, but Drag Under's good enough that he doesn't need to gamble on the high variance.
I mean, one of the things that he gets to do, you mentioned he gets to splash over into Delirium. He also gets to pick up some Emerge cards.
Right,
right. He's not gonna pass a Wretched Griff or something at this point. Graph Rats. Oh, he found a Boon of Emrakul, it looks like. Oh, sorry, that's a Liliana's Elite. Even better. That is an absolutely top tier card in his deck.
Wow.
Jeez. I was excited about a boon. Now I'm really excited. That's great.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of payoff for all the self-mill that he's managed to draft.
You're
in
right.
Past tense. Now he does.
He does.
He's in Giraffe and also Liliana's Elite.
Yeah. It's absolutely the perfect card for this deck. It benefits from the self-mill, and it happens to be a zombie as well for any of the other synergies. So that is just amazing for Brian here. He's going to be really happy to see that Liliana's Elite. I think I saw a Succumb to Temptation maybe in the middle somewhere. Oh, he's got a Cryptolith Fragment, pulled it to the front as well.
Sure.
Now, Spreading Flames is a card that he's raised up as well. And you can see why. It's a very good splash target. It costs 7 mana, so you don't need to have red in the early stages. You get a lot of time to find it. He took it.
Yeah, that's the pick.
And it is an effect that is so powerful and difficult to replace, especially out of blue-black, that you might want to splash for it. So, interesting.
Well, if he wants to splash red, he's got... I don't think Mercurial Geist fits this deck.
No, but there's a Vildenpack Outcast, which fits any deck that can cast it. And let's see what else he's got. A Spontaneous Mutation, and there's also a Geistfueled Scarecrow. He's got a lot of creatures. I think I would probably lean away from the Scarecrow if I were him and go for the Spontaneous Mutation, but we'll see.
It's
Let's
pretty
go
hard.
for it. Oh, it's
4
great.
for 4 is such a good rate.
It really is a great rate. It's just, when you're running a 17 or 18 creature deck, it really does slow you down.
Drawback is relevant.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've been running it in blue-red as my curve topper. There,
Sure.
it's really nice.
Another Certain Death.
Yeah.
Crusaders.
I think I like the Certain Death here.
So does he.
Yeah. It looks like he took a glance at the Eternal Scourge there.
Right.
That's the one that's kind of hard to kill with spot removal, but not that hard to kill in combat, and decided, more removal, please. All right, there's a Laboratory Brute and a Gavany Unhallowed. I think both of them are reasonable choices here, though given the cards that he's already got, I think the Brute is a better choice for him here.
He's got enough payoffs for self-mill that you just want more.
Yeah, Geese Giraffe, he gets to just buy back a lot of cards. Also, I really hope that he can find a Spontaneous Mutation or two, because his deck really looks good. He's got 2 Wailing Ghouls and a Laboratory Brute plus Geese Giraffe, and that's all of those mill you for some amount when you play them.
I don't think he's going to see Spontaneous Mutation at this point in the draft.
I think you're right.
Basically, all the blue players want it.
Yep.
You don't need self-mill to make that card good.
Totally. So BBD's winding down his Eldritch Moon's packs, and then we're going to be finishing up with Shadows in just a minute here. And this is looking pretty good for Brian, I think.
I agree. Second Foul Blood's there, too. He probably does want to try to see if he can sneak some artifacts into his deck, some enchantments into his deck.
Yeah, he's going to
hit
take
Delirium a little more reliably.
Gavany Unhallowed there. Card that I think pulls its weight.
Agreed.
It looks like a card that's kind of one of those
Dorky 2/4.
Yeah, you play it sometimes,
3,
but
5,
but
4,
it's actually
6.
it tends to get better. Wow, the Grizzled Angler came back.
Oh, take it.
I would just take it.
Absolutely.
It helps his self-mill plan just on its own. And,
True.
And he also has like Icefield Scarecrow now too.
Right.
So he could actually get that thing transformed.
And a whole other pack to try to find artifact creatures count as colorless creatures for this context. So.
Wow. Olivia's Dragoon has not fared well at this table so far. It has gone down a little bit in value for me, but I still think it's one of the better black commons. I'm surprised to see it go this late at the table.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's no vampire player. There's no Black Red Madness vampire player anywhere. This deck's a real, almost litmus test on how good the blue-black zombie deck is.
Agreed. And I think this is the perfect setup for it, too, because I think that the general consensus is that the deck's not quite good enough unless you have a real reason to do it, and he does.
Right.
And so this is the situation in which you would draft this deck, and I can't wait to see what it does. And I got to tell you, his move into blue-black has been really, really good for him. The colors are open. You saw that, with 4 cards left, like 3 of them were black cards, and some were playable. There was a Graph Rats in that pack too. It's like, yeah, you can play that. He got a literal last pick Succumb to Temptation, which, it's not a bomb, but like you can play that card.
He's in the right colors.
Definitely.
Read the table correctly. Well, it wasn't that hard to read, getting past the third pick mythic, but
But he did move.
he abandoned his.
Yep.
He went white card, red card, and into blue, black, gold card. And he's getting paid off for it.
He is, yeah. And, the thing is that he's close to having enough playables here. He's probably sitting on 19 playables or something like that. And that's going to give him a lot of flexibility in the Shadows over Innistrad pack where he can pick cards that fill curve spots, not necessarily just based on power level. Or he can pick, a decent removal spell over a good creature because these creatures are already fine. That kind of decision and that flexibility is really powerful.
He can take a dual land of some kind to try to get that red splash in.
There you go.
I think he also, I do think he wants to try to get an artifact creature or two.
Yeah, he's got one.
Right, he's got both the angler. Right, he currently has the 4/4, but he can flip his angler. He can turn on delirium.
Yeah, he does have the 2 Thraben Foulbloods that he'd like to get going. Well, there's a good start. Stitch Mangler right off the bat is a zombie. It's on color. It's powerful. It's in a curve spot that he'd like to have a few more cards. You can get a really nasty loop going with that with Geese and Drolf too if you have like a Sacrifice Atlighter if it just dies repeatedly and just keep buying it back. It's
Can I have
pretty
an
sweet.
Unhallowed in play while I do this?
Yeah, I'm in.
Awesome.
So a nice pickup for him here. Yeah, I really like how BBD's managed this draft. I mean, he, like you said, he got a very clear signal, but he heeded that warning and went for it. And that involved abandoning his first 2 picks, which a lot of players have a hard time with that.
You're right.
All right, let's see what he finds here out of this pack.
Ever After?
Yeah, there's an Ever After at the front, but I also see at the back and
Accursed
there.
Witch.
Yeah, he's pulled that to the front too. That is interesting. Murderous
Compulsion.
Compulsion would also make the cut in his list. There's also a Pale Rider of Trostad, which actually might make the cut as well.
One of those is going to come back, probably.
Yeah, he's probably going to get something. But yeah, it is definitely between Ever After and the Accursed Witch.
I feel like I Accursed Witch.
I would Accursed Witch as well. I think that he's like
the Ever Afters.
He's correct in his with the with the power level of Ever After being very, very high here. And it also works well with his self-mill strategy. So there's a lot to like here. But I also feel like he's going to be getting creatures back out of his graveyard anyway. He has 2 different spells that can do that. And Accursed Witch is really powerful. Close pick. Really close pick for BBD.
Hard to go too far wrong.
Yeah. Lamplighter, Selhoff, not really what the doctor ordered here. He's pulled Ongoing Investigation to the front, which, if he can find green mana, is an absolute engine. It's really interesting because, normally you think of Ongoing Investigation as this card that's like, well, I got to get my creatures in for damage. And his can't. He's got a bunch of 1/3s and stuff. So he's not about that. He's about that grind. But look at that last ability. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. It does not care how it got there. If you self-mill it and start grinding through your yard, you're going to be gaining life, and it's just an engine. It's an absolute engine. But he does need green mana to make that work. Really interesting. Ooh, there's a Ghoul Steed.
Yeah.
I think he's going to take the Stormrider Spirit, but I actually like the Ghoul Steed better here. It does work very well with the self-mill plan,
right.
And it can help you get other zombies and creatures into the graveyard that can then come back. So I think I like the synergy a little better, even though I agree with BBD on his pick that Stormrider Spirit is a more powerful card, but sometimes the other one jumps up a little given what else you have. He's got an Asylum Visitor pulled to the front here. That's kind of interesting too. Not amazing in his deck.
I'm surprised that this pack has not been amazing for him.
Yeah.
Given this is the direction he got Geese and Drolf from.
I mean, he's had. I mean, there's a black rare. Like,
yeah, but they're fine.
2 black rares. Like, they're just not that
they're kind of
premium stuff. Yeah.
He had reason to have very high expectations.
He's got a Morcrit Necropod. Another Ever After?
Funny.
What the?
Twins.
All right.
State as well.
Do it,
Definitely
BBD.
rather. Well, yeah.
Take the second Ever After.
Do what it's what the pack said to do.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I would rather have 1 Ever After, 1 Accursed Witch than 2 Ever Afters.
Yeah, I would too. I think that if there was an Accursed Witch here, he would have taken it.
Sure.
Looks like a Farbog Revenant is really only viable option. Magnifying Glass, it's interesting, Randy. It's gone up a little for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is now fringe playable from basically unplayable, at least in my estimation from previous set. It's just slower here, you know. Eldritch Moon is just it's a step slower. You have a little more time to grind, and that's the kind of card that can do it.
Yeah, that ongoing investigation we saw Brian take earlier, I think is even better for the same reason.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just putting that, even if it never comes up with the green mana, just having that in your sideboard so that no one else can play it against you has some value.
Ulvenwald Mysteries have not beaten it since Eldritch Moon came. Every time somebody played it, I thought, well, it's going to take 6 turns, but I am very dead. It's funny because those cards were good before, and now somehow they're just better. There's a Seagraff Scob and a Liliana's Indignation, neither of which are playable in his deck. He's got much better cards than Seagraff Scob. Even though it is a zombie and cheap, you know, he's getting value from his cheap
zombies. Where's the self-mill? Why did I play the vanilla one?
Yeah. Yeah, Seagraff Scob really kind of got trounced when Eldritch Moon came out because Fogwalker came out too.
Right.
It's just not the card you want anymore, unfortunately. And there's another Farbog Revenant. He ended up taking the Rotten Heart Ghoul.
Sure. Shadows was not super kind to Brian.
No, it was medium. Like I would call that pick fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But given where he was after 2 packs, he didn't improve by as much as he might have hoped to.
No, he really wanted to find more removal.
Right.
You know, that's the thing that, you know, the deck's power level was good, and he did pick up the 2 copies of Ever After, which give him what will likely be a near unbeatable late game. His graveyard will essentially always have 2 targets for it.
Right.
And the type of card, you know, an Ever After is the type of card that you look at and you think, okay, if I'm getting 2 good creatures back, it's fantastic. If I'm getting a good creature and a medium creature back, it's pretty good. You'd still play it, but it's the times when you only get 1 creature or even, God forbid, no creatures that it's bad. Take a look at BBD as he wraps up. A little smile from him. Good job, buddy.
Yeah,
that was a good draft. He should.
That
was a solid draft, and he read the signals correctly and was rewarded for it. And we call that justice. And now the only problem is he's got to build his deck and then face this table. This is not an easy day 1 table for our GP master Brian-Braun Duin, but you know it can give him a little bit of practice for the World Championship, right?
This is play testing for him?
Look, the thing
There's
is,
a Pro Tour to win.
when you go to the World Championship, you are facing down mono awesome players. There's just nobody that's bad. And, you know, this pool or this table for him is similar. Lots of really great players in it.
I don't think he's quite in playtesting mode yet, though. He would love to be platinum. Well, he is qualified for Worlds, but he does not yet have platinum status in the Players Club because of the GP cap. So many of his points were capped that he's kind of only gold.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot that he could accomplish for himself this weekend, even though the World slot's already locked up.
Yeah, you know, I chatted with him. I think he needed a X and 4 finish.
Yeah, 12
here.
and 4 is what I heard. I knew that's what he needed going into the GP.
Yeah, he may have bumped number 6 up a little because he was playing for top 8 at the GP.
Right.
He did not want to give up that seat, and Seth Manfield certainly gave him a bit of a sweat as he had to watch him play into the top 8. Now Seth had to win, but Seth ended up losing in the semis, and that gave Brian-Braun Duin the GP Master slot at the World Championship. All right, that's going to do it for the first draft of the day, but we've got more draft action for you and updates and such from Rich Hagan at the news desk.
Marshall and Randy with the call there on BBD's first draft of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. We've got another complete draft for you coming right up. 3 Pro Tour top 8s. He's a Platinum Pro. He's from Japan. Here's every pick as it happened of Kentaro Yamamoto.